Tariffs are back in the headlines, with former President Donald Trump running for re-election and once again pushing for major tariffs on foreign goods. The question is clear. Which American industries will actually benefit from these policies? Who stands to gain if Trump's proposed trade agenda becomes reality? Let's start with what Trump has proposed. He's calling for universal tariffs on all imported goods, possibly starting at 10% across the board, with even higher duties on countries like China. His message is focused on protecting American jobs, rebuilding domestic industry, and reducing the trade deficit. While tariffs often spark heated debate, there are certain industries that could see short-term gains from this approach. One of the biggest winners? American steel and aluminum manufacturers. These industries were at the center of Trump's trade agenda during his first term. Tariffs on foreign steel help domestic producers raise prices and increase output, giving struggling factories a temporary lifeline. If new tariffs are imposed again, we could see a similar boost for companies like Nucor, US Steel, and Century Aluminum. Next, consider the textile and apparel industry. While most clothing sold in the US is made overseas, new tariffs could make imported garments more expensive, creating an opportunity for domestic manufacturers and made in USA brands to compete more effectively. Smaller US clothing producers, especially those focused on quality or niche markets, could benefit from a shift in consumer behavior toward locally made goods. Another sector with potential upside is electronics assembly and semiconductor manufacturing. The US has already begun reshoring chip production with help from the CHIPS Act, but tariffs on Chinese tech components could accelerate this trend. Companies that assemble consumer electronics or supply the defense sector, such as Intel, Texas Instruments, or Micron, may receive more government incentives or benefit from reduced foreign competition. The agricultural, machinery, and industrial equipment sectors might also see gains. If tariffs make imported heavy machinery from countries like Germany, Japan, or South Korea more expensive, it could create room for American manufacturers like Caterpillar or John Deere to expand their market share, particularly in government contracts or large-scale infrastructure projects. Likewise, the mining and rare earth extraction industries could receive a boost. Tariffs on imported minerals or China-sourced inputs might encourage domestic investment in critical materials production, something the US government is already prioritizing due to national security concerns. And then there's defense and aerospace. With tariffs increasing costs for global suppliers, there could be more pressure to source military and high-tech components domestically. Companies in the defense supply chain could benefit from new government contracts and reshoring efforts if trade barriers go up. However, it's important to note, while some industries may benefit on paper, the broader picture is complex. Tariffs often lead to retaliation from other countries, higher input costs for US manufacturers, and increased prices for consumers. For every winner, there can be unintended losers, like automakers, retailers, or farmers who rely heavily on global supply chains and export markets. In the long run, protectionist policies can reshape industry incentives, but they also come with economic risks, from inflation to supply shortages. That's why even within the business community, there's a split. Some favor tariffs as a shield for American jobs. Others see them as a disruption to free markets and global trade. So while industries like steel, textiles, semiconductors, and machinery may enjoy a short-term advantage if Trump's tariff agenda returns, the long-term outcome will depend on how global partners respond and how effectively domestic companies adapt to the new landscape. Thanks for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Which industries do you think should be protected, and which ones should face global competition?